Hello, good morning. How are you? Are you fine? Are you there? Can you write anything? Are you there? Stop chatting. Stop chatting now. Hello, Valeria. Valeria Rejon. Are you there? Did you go for a walk yesterday? Hello, Sam. Samuel. Hello, Rodri. Hello, Miguel. Okay, so we're going to start our class in the title, as you may see, is composed of two things. One of them is about population, and the other one is about Spanish Golden Age. So now all you need to have before you is your notes, your social science notes, and we're going to start with this part. Okay, so we want to start about the study of population, and the first thing you need to know is the definition of population. So population is the number of people that live in an area, in a country, in a city, um, in a neighborhood, and the science that studies population is called demography. Okay, so this is the most important thing now. This is the thing about definitions. Population is the number of people that live um, anywhere, and demography is a science, a social science. Is the science that studies population. And to do that, demography needs two different types of data. One of them is the type of data that are called quantitative or qualitative data. You have there some of the basic data of a population can be easily measured by an official census. A census is something very, it's a tool that was invented a long time ago, especially by the Romans. When the Romans wanted to raise taxes among the people, they were forced to make a list of the people that live there, okay, so that they could know about the things that they had. And according to these things, they could raise more or less taxes. So, census. This is a census. And in our country, every 9 years, a census is produced. A census. We have two different tools. Census, what we call a censo, and what we call el padrón. Okay, so every 9 years is a census. Every 9 years is a padrón. Okay, so the difference between a census in Spain and a padrón is 4 5 years. Okay, very good. So now, in the quantitative aspects, tell us how many people there are in a particular area. Okay, how many men, how many women, how many of them moved home recently. Okay, a quantitative data is an answer for a question that asks for a number. So the key word, the key phrase to differentiate a quantitative question or a qualitative question is that a quantitative question always starts with how many? How many? And conversely, we have qualitative aspects, and these are aspects about the social factors of a population. For instance, the educational level, um, the employment rate, the ethnic and religious groups, political opinion, all these things can't be answered with a number. With a number, you can say my educational level is primary school or secondary school or university. You don't answer with a number. You don't say two, four. You understand? These are qualitative questions and qualitative aspects. This is important. Next, we have a paragraph about changes in the size of a population. People study population to know about changes in this population. Okay. And the first thing we need to know is the change of size of a population. And this change combine two different factors, okay, natural and social factors in this population. So, what are the natural changes? Very easy. So, that has to do with the number of births and the number of deaths. Okay, if the number of deaths uh, is um, is higher than the number of deaths, this population is increasing, is growing. Okay, if the opposite is true, this population is decreasing. Good. So natural change occur when we combine births and deaths in an area. A population can grow when there are more births than deaths. If the opposite happens, the population can decrease. And another interesting thing is what we call fertility rate. And the fertility rate is the average number of births per woman. So when the fertility rate in a society is more than 2.1, this society can expect to grow, can grow. If the number is lesser than the 2.1, this population is expected to decrease. Very good. And then in the page number 3, you have another indicator very important, the life expectancy. So this is the age until which a person can be expected to live. In Spain, we have a life expectancy of near 90 for women and a little less for men. Then we have another factor that are called social changes, and this is very important. And normally, social changes in a population are related to migrations. Migrations are movements of people that go from a place to another one, and normally they they do that because they need a better life. They can get this better life in their countries, in their areas of origin, and they move. Okay, from the beginning of humankind, there had been a lot of migrations. Maybe you remember when we studied prehistory. Prehistory was the moment when normally in the earth many people move wandering from a place to another, and even when the Neolithic period started, uh, many people were escaping wars, escaping famines, escaping bad living conditions, and moved from a place to another. You remember the 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 Iberian people that came here into the Iberian Peninsula. They came from Asia, from Eastern Europe. The Celts came here from the Northern Europe. Okay, and the history of our country is full of migrations. So you remember the Phoenicians; they migrate here. The Greeks next, the the Carthaginians, the Romans. Okay, you remember the Visigoths? They came from Northern Europe. from what today is Germany, the Muslims, a lot of people that came here, and conversely, in many occasions, many times, people that live in Spain were forced to go out. Maybe you remember the Jews; they were expelled by the Catholic monarchs. The the Muslims they were expelled by the king of Spain in the 17th century when America was discovered. Many Spaniards went there to make a living, okay, to make a living, and the opposite was true as well. Okay? So migration is something that is crucial, not only in Spain but in all countries, all countries. When you see people that they have maybe for you a different look, okay, and you think maybe these people are from abroad, they are migrants and they are here because they want a better life, okay, the same that we know in Spain about ourselves, same. Very good. So you have there, migration is the movement of groups of people from a place to another, and when people migrate they look for safety or better living conditions in other place. And there are two concepts: immigrants and immigrants. Immigrants are people that are called so because they are here and they weren't born here. And immigrants are people from this very country that are forced to go abroad to make a living. This is important. And as you can see there, the history of humankind has been made out of migrations, either of a small or a massive scale. Sometimes migrants try to escape environmental catastrophes such as floods, wildfires, droughts, or recently the global warming. And all these disasters result on poor harvest, malas cosechas, and or the destruction of them, and famines appear. Famines, in Spanish we call it hambrunas, when people are starving. When people are starving, they can't stay in the same place. They have to move. They have to move. Okay? Good. And another important factor are plagues. Plagues have also produced mass migration in history. Okay? Today, we are suffering. We are going through a kind of pandemic. This is a plague. This is another name for a plague. Okay, and another very important source of migrations are wars. Wars not only produce deaths during the conflict, but they also create insecurity for one and the relatives when the war is over and one party was defeated. So many people in this moment around the world are fleeing wars. Okay, and the sad thing is that when they want to enter another country, normally this country says no, you can enter here. Okay, and they are confined in concentration camps. So you have there three images. Can you see? This is famine, this is plague or pandemic, and this is war. This particular photo is taken from Dublin because Irish people suffer in the 19th century a very severe famine and they were forced to go abroad. Okay, many of them went to the United States, Irish people there. And black, we are suffering one of them. We're going through one of them. And war, same. Very good. Now, please, we're going to do the review of this part with this presentation. So this is a summary of what we are saying. So the study of population, you have to remember that population is the number of people that live in an area. This is the important concept. And demography is a science that studies population. Good. And then, to study population, we need two different types of data. One of them are called quantitative. Quantitative as you can see here in this image. Quantitative data are questions that are answered with a number. So they are basic data. And we know that because we produce census. Remember, the Romans were, no, they weren't the first people to produce a census, but they weren't. You remember that when we studied the invention of writing, writing was invented to raise taxes as well. Okay, but the Roman Empire made broad census all around the empire. And what are the questions? What How many people live there? How many men and women we have in this territory? How many moved home recently? All questions that start with how many are quantitative because they are answered with a number. And the other kind of data are called qualitative data. And these are data that can't be answered with a number, but with an idea, with a word, a noun, whatever. And these relate to social factors. And this is the difference between a census and a survey. A survey is a tool that answers social factors, such as the educational level, the employment rate, the ethnic and religious groups, okay, and so forth. Good. And then we need to study the changes in populations. And we have two different types of changes. One of them are natural changes. Okay? Natural changes are about births and deaths. Okay? If you have more births than deaths, the population increases. If you have more deaths than births, the population decreases. Okay? Good. And now you remember the fertility rate concept. Fertility rate is the average number of births per woman. Okay. For example, in my case, in my family, the fertility rate of my mother was 5. 5. Um, uh, but if you put this question to any other people nowadays in Spain, maybe the fertility rate is 1, is 2. Okay, you understand? With all these numbers, we have an average, and this average is the fertility rate. If this fertility rate is 2.1 or more, and then the population is expected to increase. If the number is 2.0 or less, the population is expected to decrease. And this is the case of Spain, as we're going to see very, very soon. And then, apart from natural changes, we have social changes. And we have three different reasons. One of them are migrations. There are three different reasons for migrations. Migrations is the movement of people from a place to another place. Okay, and we have immigrants and emigrants. An immigrant is the person that comes from in Spain, for instance, from Morocco, from Nigeria, from any other country to look for a better life here in Spain. And immigrants are people from Spain that go abroad. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, many young people, many Spanish people that were young went abroad to make a living, okay? Because there were a very severe, a very hard economic crisis in Spain, and many young people went there looking for a job there. So remember the difference between immigrants and emigrants. Very good. And what are the causes for migrations? There are three main causes. One of them, famines, hambrunas, famines. People that if they stay in the same place, they're going to starve to death. Okay, so they set about to go for another place. Poor harvest, because In the world, there are many countries that survive because of agriculture. There are poor harvest, malas cosechas, they can eat, and they have to move. And another reasons are environmental catastrophes. And we have floods, inundaciones, floods, wildfires, incendios, droughts, sequías. There's no enough rain, okay, to water the harvest. These are called droughts, and the global warming. This is another very important problem in this moment. So, and famines, plagues, and wars are the main causes for migrations. Good. Now, I'd like you to go to the exercise part because we're going to correct some of your works. So, and you have the first exercise. You have on the left part, you have some sentences, and on your right part, you have some concepts, and you have to match each column. So, what would you say about number one? What is an official collection of basic data on a population? I have to choose between these 8 concepts. We're talking about an official collection of basic data. An official is something that is made by the government. Official. The only body that can be an official collection is the government of a country. Okay, so one match with census. So 1, 8. Good. What about the number of people that lived in an area? Which is the definition? Quantitative, fertility rate. So number 2. The number of people that live in an area is? Yes, this is population. Number 3. We're looking for the concept for this definition, the age until which a person can be expected to live, according to you. Yes, life expectancy. Life expectancy is the age until which a person can be expected to live. Now, let's move to number 4. But looking for the definition for tools that collect data on some social factors. Social factors are not quantitative but qualitative aspects. Tools to collect data on some social factors on a population. Number 4. Yes, surveys. Surveys is the English for our Spanish encuesta. Okay, good. Number 5. Looking for the concept for the science that studies population. Very easy. The science that studies population is called, yes, the demography, demografía, we call it in Spanish. Now, number 6, the average number of births per woman. The average number of births per woman. This is number 6 is the fertility rate. Good. 7, the number of people that live in a particular area. The number of people that live in a particular area. So this is population, but this is a quantitative aspect. You could say population. This is the definition for population as well. Okay. In this case, we want to relate the number of people 1, 2, 3, 4 with a quantitative aspect, and finally the average political opinion of a population. Which is the party you agree the most? Oh, left party, right party. This is a political opinion. Okay, and This can't be answered with a number, but with a concept, with an idea. Good. And this is C, a qualitative aspect. Okay, I think this is easy to understand. Then we have here the exercise number 2. Many of you did it very well, but not all of you. So attention, we have to decide whether the concepts of the box are quantitative or qualitative. So we have here quantitative and here qualitative. Remember, all questions that starts with how many are answered with a number. These are quantitative. So according to that, how many people above 65, this is quantitative. How many of them moved home recently, quantitative. How many people are there in your family, in your city, this is quantitative. How many pets per family, quantitative. How many children under 6, quantitative. How many men and women, this is quantitative as well, and the rest are qualitative. Very good. Now number three and number 4, number 3 and number 4, these are the exercises you have to do today. Okay, very good. And now let's move to the second part of our class. You got to watch 2 magnificent works by some of you. This one was made by our mate, our friend Valeria Gomez Alcázar. This is not only interesting but a beautiful work, and it's a kind of introduction to the Golden Age in Spain. You can see here some images. You can see here. This is the picture of maybe the most important writer in Spain, Miguel de Cervantes, that was born in Alcalá de Henares. Okay, was the author of Don Quixote de la Mancha. And maybe here you can distinguish a fragment of Las Meninas by Velázquez. And here you can see another part of a painting by El Greco. Good. Valeria Rejón, sorry. It's my fault. Valeria Rejón. So, and Valeria reminds us that the Golden Age is an expression, okay, it's a phrase that people use when they are talking about something very important. So for Spain, maybe the most important period of history in which culture was a very important thing, not only in Spain, but from Spain to the rest of the world, was the Golden Age. And the Golden Age is the number that is put to the 16th century and 17th century. Not the whole 16th century, okay, but the late 16th century and maybe almost the whole of the 17th century. Okay, and that was something that happened after the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. Good. And she remembers us that the beginning of the 16th century, there were the Catholic monarchs that were ruling Spain. They were the couple that create Spain as a country. Spain didn't exist before them. Spain exists because they create this country. Okay, remember that she was the queen of Castile, and Fernando II was the king of Aragon. Okay, one country, but different territories with different laws. Okay, with borders, different traditions, and these traditions were respected. Okay, very good. Now, and she starts talking about some influential authors, and you have here, you have here Las Meninas, Velázquez. Next day, we're going to see more works about Velázquez. Okay, I received a lot of works about Velázquez. Many of them very interesting. And here, this is one of the most important monuments in Spain. This is the University of Alcalá, University of Alcalá de Henares, the place where many writers studied. Okay, Alcalá was the birthplace of Miguel de Cervantes, but Miguel de Cervantes didn't study there. Miguel de Cervantes didn't study there. Yeah. But people such as Quevedo, such as Calderón de la Barca, studied there. Many other people. It was the most famous university in Spain, along with Salamanca. Along with Salamanca. Very good. And this is Baroque style, and this is Renaissance style. I want to see more things about that. Very good. Now, about literature. This is very famous. This is the image of Don Quixote, his esquire, Sancho Panza, and this is the adventure of the windmills. Good. And she says, music of the area revolved largely around religious forms and themes, which is true. Good. This is an interesting character, very interesting. So, Calderón de la Barca. Why Calderón de la Barca? Because many people say that when Calderón de la Barca died, Calderón de la Barca was born at the beginning of the century. At the beginning of the century. So in 1700, and he died late in the century, in the 80s of the century. And many people think that when he died, the the golden age finished. And you have here a schedule. Okay, very interesting. And it was the fall of the golden age when many battles in Europe that were led by Spain were fought. Okay, many of them were won by Spain and some countries, but many others were lost, especially in Central Europe. Very good. And this is the end of the presentation. A beautiful presentation by Valeria Rejón. Thank you. And to finish, I'd like you to watch this impressive presentation. This presentation was made by our mate Alex Zurdo. Okay, I want to congratulate publicly to Alex by this excellent work. Okay, and this is El Greco. El Greco was the name. El Greco means El Griego in Spanish. So a person that was born in Greece. So El Greco was a migrant. You want a migrant, and he was looking for a better life, and he wanted to make a living out of painting, and he was born in Greece and moved to Italy to learn how to paint properly, and from Italy to Spain. And that was the moment when we had in Spain maybe the most powerful king ever in Spain, King Philip II. And he came here to paint for King Philip II. But King Philip II didn't like El Greco's painting, and El Greco had to go to Toledo, and he lived until his death in Toledo. Okay, his name was Domenicos Theotokopoulos. You go to Toledo, you're going to see a lot of paintings by him. Okay, so you have here one of them. This boy looks like he's looking to a mobile phone, but it's not. It's a candle. Okay, can you see? Can you see light here? It's very difficult to capture in a painting. So El Greco was able to do that. Very good. You have here more information, but we don't have enough time to look for it. As he was living in Toledo, he made a lot of paintings about Toledo, and this is Toledo in Greco's time. If you go to Toledo now, you're going to see more or less the same image. Okay, this is Tagus River, Rio Tajo. This is Alcántara Bridge, Puente de Alcántara. This is San Servando Castle. Same today. You can go there, and this is the cathedral, Catedral de Toledo, Gothic style. This here, this is the Alcázar, okay, a castle, Alcázar. The most famous inmate there was Emperor Charles V, Alcázar. So this image is pretty the same as you can see today if you go to Toledo. Good. And this is a self-portrait, selfie, okay, a self-portrait, portrait of El Greco, and these are the dates of his birth, and no, it was painted around these 5 years. Okay. Okay. This is another portrait. You can see here this person, and this is the signature of El Greco, Domenicus Deutocopoulos. Good. This is not the only work we're going to see about El Greco, okay? But we don't have more time to see more. Maybe the day after tomorrow we're going to see more works about El Greco. He was a religious person, but the thing was that the church, the Catholic Church, had a lot of money. So you were a painter, you need to paint for the bishops, for the archbishops, and they have, because they have the money, and they look for religious paintings. That's why the most paintings about religious themes. Good. Another painting by El Greco. Look, this is Jesus Christ. Looks like he is flying. Okay. Very good. Very good. We can see very well this painting. This painting is about a saint that was called. Can't remember the name. San Sebastian. Very good. Very good. This is the Last Supper. The painting is about the Last Supper. Can you see it? The colors here? The colors? This is Jesus Christ, and you can count up to 12 apostles. And a woman here. Okay? A woman here. Trinity. The Trinity is about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Is represented in the tradition, in the Catholic tradition, by a dove here. Okay, a pigeon. Very good. Good. You can see this. You can see this painting in a museum in Toledo. It's called Museo de Santa Cruz. You go to Toledo, you have to go to the Museo de Santa Cruz, because maybe this is the place where they can they keep more paintings about the Greco. So Santa Cruz and the house of El Greco in Toledo. Very good, very good. Same painting. Very good. So now that's all. So congratulations for Valeria Rejón and Alex Zurdo for their presentations. And this is not the last presentation we're going to see about El Greco. The day after tomorrow, I plan you to see more things about that. And remember remember you had to try to do the exercise number 3 of your social science notes. And now we are finishing this emission. I remind you to greet teacher Javi on my part, okay? And remember, we have an appointment at 12 o'clock. Okay. Now, I want to finish